In 1966, a man murdered a woman in São Paulo and dismembered her body. He was caught, convicted, and sent to prison. The psychiatric evaluation said he was dangerous, that he should never be released. 15 years later, the Brazilian justice system let him go anyway. In 1993, he did it again. Same method, different victim, same city. The psychiatric evaluation said again that he was dangerous. Brazil let him go again. His name was Francisco Costa Rocha, but Brazil knew him by another name, Chico Picadinho, and almost nobody outside Brazil has ever heard of him. Francisco Costa Rocha was born in 1942 in the interior of São Paulo state. By his mid-20s, he was living in the city, presenting to everyone around him as an ordinary, unremarkable man. On the night of September 3, 1966, a young woman named Margaret was found dead in a São Paulo apartment. What the investigators found, there was something that shocked even experienced homicide detectives. A level of violence and mutilation that São Paulo had rarely seen. Rocha was identified, investigated, and arrested within days. He didn't deny it. During interrogation, he spoke calmly, almost clinically. He showed no remorse. He was convicted and sentenced to the maximum allowed. The forensic psychiatric evaluation that followed was unambiguous. Extreme danger to society. The Brazilian justice system filed their recommendation and moved on. What happened over the next 15 years inside the Brazilian prison system is a study in institutional failure so complete that it reads like fiction. Rocha was a model prisoner, cooperative.com, never violent inside the walls. Successive psychiatric evaluations produced conflicting results. Some reinforced the original assessment. Dangerous, do not release. Others began softening the language influenced by his model behavior. By the late 1970s, the system was processing Rocha for conditional release. The original recommendation had been bureaucratically diluted across 15 years of paperwork. In 1976, Francisco Costa Rocha walked out of prison. A free man, the psychiatrists who had warned against his release were not consulted. The neighborhood he moved into had no idea who had just arrived. 17 years passed. Francisco Costa Rocha lived quietly, working, maintaining the appearance of normalcy that he had always been able to project. Then, in 1993, a woman named Iris was found dead in a São Paulo apartment. The method was identical to the 1966 crime. Rocha was arrested within days. Again, he was 51 years old, and now he had killed again with the same calm detachment. At his second trial, the forensic psychiatric evaluation reached the same conclusion: extremely dangerous. Permanent institutionalization recommended. The Brazilian press suddenly remembered. They gave him his nickname. Chico Picadinho means finely chopped in Portuguese. It was the kind of name that Brazilian tabloid journalism specialized in turning horror into something almost casual, almost manageable. After his second conviction, Rocha was sent to a forensic psychiatric institution. The correct placement, finally, 27 years late. The case exposed three systemic failures. First, the complete absence of continuity in forensic psychiatric evaluations. Second, a penal system with no adequate infrastructure for indefinite high-security containment. And third, a society that responded to all of this by giving a serial killer a nickname and moving on. Chico Picadinho became a cultural reference, the kind of dark Brazilian folklore that people mention in conversation without fully reckoning with what it means. That a man was evaluated as dangerous twice and released twice and killed again. Francisco Costa Rocha died in 2018 inside a forensic psychiatric institution in São Paulo. He was 76 years old. The danger was real. It was permanent, and the system had known that from the beginning. 2 women are dead because a bureaucracy preferred paperwork to accountability, because a society found it easier to give a killer a nickname than to fix the institutions that kept setting him free. The names of his victims are almost never mentioned. That imbalance is itself a kind of failure. If this made you think, subscribe.